welcome everybody this morning. So basically we're going to run into a little bit of a conversation about field management and field nutrition today. We're going to kick it off with Eric Kietzer from Kietzer Farms in Michigan. Eric is a massive transplant guy. I think they do roughly 30 states, 75 million transplants a year. Of course, that's not all hemp. He's diversified. So we're going to have him on to speak a little bit first. Following that, we're going to have some guests that I'm really honored to have as well, and that's Michael Key and Tim Gordon. Tim Gordon being quite an icon in this space for a number of years. They're currently with Impello Bio, that's Michael's company. They're running the nutrition program with us this year, and I think their field nutrition is pretty much on point. So they're going to talk a little bit about their microbial inoculant, a little bit about nutrition uptake. And then we have, as if that's not enough to fill the day, we have Charlie McKenzie, one of my favorite people, who is running Crop Talk Ag podcast. Wonderful podcast. If you haven't listened to that, you definitely need to tap into it. It's always filled with knowledge and has some really nice people on it, including he had me at one point. And he's going to talk about integrated pest management because he runs this company Crop Walk as well outside of the Crop Talk podcast. And he is an IPM specialist for hemp. He's going to give us some tips on what we want to watch out for in field as the plants start to develop. And then at the end of the program, we are going to give away some seed. So we have a great opportunity today. We're going to give away 5 different gifts. So 5 people who attend and stick with us till the end are going to receive something wonderful from Davis Farms. 2 people will receive a 50% voucher on any purchase that they make this year. No matter what the quantity, you're going to get a 50% discount. Any variety of your choice. So that'll go out to 2 people. And then we will have 2 people will get 500 seeds, excuse me. So we'll have another 2 that will receive a 500 seed giveaway. This variety of their choice. Got them here for you. And then the grand prize today, somebody is going to walk away with an acre of seed. So we want to give away an acre of seed to somebody, and just looking forward to do that. And so we'll close this out with that. And I guess without further ado, let's kick this thing off. So I'd like to bring on to start Eric Kietzer. Eric is from Michigan, running a transplant company. He's done a lot of hemp transplants over the last few years, been very helpful to hemp farmers, making sure they get healthy transplants to the field. Like I said a minute ago, he does roughly, I think, 75 million transplants a year to 30 states. So if we could bring on Eric and share the screen, I have a few questions for him, and he and I are going to talk a little bit about transplanting and field hardening. Excuse me, germination and field hardening.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy.
Of course, Eric. Thanks for coming, man. You're quite an icon, like I said, in the ag industry, and certainly appreciate you stepping in and supporting all the hemp farmers as this thing comes online.
Well, I actually just kind of fell into it. You know, it wasn't something that we pursued. As some growers in the Midwest were looking for someone to propagate, and I think they wanted to do 80 acres, and they're like, well, who can do it? And one of the vegetable seed brokers said, well, that's the only person in your area is us. So that's kind of how we got started. We kind of fell into hemp with that respect. But yeah, this will be our 41st growing season in the greenhouse. Like you said, we do about 75 million plants a year. Our customer base is as far west as Nebraska, as far south as Arkansas, as far east as Connecticut, and we've got some customers in Canada as well. Like all sorts of vegetables, just 100% of our customers are farmers. So we're not into flowers, we're strictly agriculture.
Yeah, and a few of the crops you guys have been doing, I know you do some tobacco. What are some of the other ones you've been doing?
Yep. Tobacco, tomatoes, watermelons, peppers, herbs like oregano and basil, celery. I mean, you name it, we've done it. I mean, hemp isn't the only one that we get into that are new crop categories. Like last year, I think we did 80 acres of nettles for a grower in Wisconsin. So,
Oh, nice.
That's
nice.
kind of a new crop category as well. Our operation, we're a custom grower, so we don't do anything on speculation. So really the customers come to us and give us the specifications that they want. You know, and I saw that you know, on your thing, you're like, well, what size tray do you grow hemp in? And, you know, I have recommendations, but in the end of the day, I do what the customer wants. You know, I'd probably recommend, you know, maybe 3 or 4 tray sizes, but I handle 40 different tray sizes.
Of course.
So,
of course.
You know, and so in terms of like sizing of the hemp plant as well, I mean, it's really based on your operation and what you want. You know, somebody wants a 16 count tray with, you know, massive plants that are 2 feet tall, you know, because they're pushing them in by hand. You know, I can certainly do that. I don't think it'd be very cost effective, but, you know, but in the end of the day, the customer, you know, gives us the specs that we try to make this work.
Well, and that being said, why don't you touch on that a little bit, since you've been getting into the hemp space and you're such a leader in the industry. You know, I'd like to hear a little bit about, you know, just what people should expect from emergence time, what you think is a good planting density, you know, mid-range, as far as for the tray size, because I see them just like you do, going up to 219s and all the way down to, you know, 32s. So just curious on your thoughts, what you've seen, and, you know, not obviously you give people a range of flats, but if they were to pick a midstream, you know, what do you think is the right direction to go from what you've been learning?
Well, at our place, we pre-germinate all seeds. So all the seeds are started in a germination chamber, which, you know, really gets the most out of what's available. You know, I'll get the best seed germ possible that way. It's just, you know, it's a really stable, humid environment, and so you're not dealing with the fluctuations in the greenhouse of maybe, you know, 5 or 10 degrees based on, you know, equipment running or the sun. So, you know, that first radicle really gets pushed out, and the plant, you know, 90% of the germinating is accomplished before it even hits the greenhouse. And you know, that allows us to get a lot of success, you know, because we have really controlled conditions in terms of getting that, you know, what the seed is capable of doing. Obviously, I can't make a bad seed good, but we're pretty good at getting the best of what the seed can do.
Certainly. So I'm curious. That's fascinating to me. So you guys have a germination room, and that the seeds are actually cracked there, and then you set the seed, is what you're saying?
No. So what we sow the tree, we sow the trays.
Okay.
And then the sown trays go into a germination room. I actually have 3 of them, and at various temperatures. And we usually keep, you know, hemp in like a 75-degree room for 2 days. You really don't want anything more than that, just because it's a pretty vigorous plant. So you don't want anything in the germination chamber emerging. You want everything before it emerges from the soil. So yeah, we're doing everything right. You know, when you set it in the greenhouse, it will have soil emergence within 24 hours.
Got it.
So we can keep to a pretty strict time schedule that way. That, you know, and it keeps everything even. We don't have things at various vigors that are, you know, potentially can shade out other plants later down the road, and kind of gets everything in equal starting. But in terms of like density, I mean, so I did a 50 count trays, I've done 72 count trays, I've done 98 count trays, 128 count trays, and then we've also done LE pots in 128 and 105. And
what do you think about those LE pots?
My recommendation. Oh, I think they're awesome, but there's a cost associated with it. You know,
Got it.
The closed cell trays, is a lot cheaper. And are you getting a drastically better plant? I guess it really depends. The huge advantage of an pot is that you can plant a plant that is a lot more juvenile. So you get the advantages of direct seeding, but also the advantages of growing a plant in greenhouse. And there's some risk associated with that. You have a lot tender of a plant; it's less hardened off. So you need really good weather conditions to be planting them outside. And like a closed cell tray, you got to get the root mass developed enough that you can pull them out of the tray. So
right.
They're a little over. They get to where, you get to where they're at the max of their container size. And so that will set the plant back a little bit. So that's the drawback of a transplant over an LE. So,
well, and that brings me to. I'm sorry, Eric. Go ahead.
Well, so I guess it just really comes down to someone's operation, their cost structure, really what their goals are. I did some autoflowers last year and some LE. I think they did really well, and I was really surprised for how young they were planting them. I mean, I think I had them in the greenhouse maybe 6 days, and they were planted.
So that's a good point. You can get them out in the field a little bit sooner. Yeah. Well, that leads me to my next, question, which is about what size do you think a hemp plant should be hitting the field? And I think you touched on something really important there, that you one, in a tray of flat like that, you have to let them sort of set root and push out a little bit on the edge of the flat so that they'll hold the media together to go into the tray. But one, how much does that impact or how much does that cause shock when you go to transplant? And two, where do you want to draw the line on that? One, how much root do you want to get into that cell? And two, what size of plant do you think it starts getting too big to get out in the field?
Well, I want to get back to preference. So I guess how you're planting is also a huge factor into what size plant. On a 72 count tray, I can get, a 9-inch plant. But if you're planting with like a Chechi Magli, the plant's too big, and you're not going to get it in your planter. But if you're pushing them in by hand, it would work. I mean, if it was my recommendation, I think like the 98 count is probably the sweet spot. You get like a plant that's 6 to 7 inches tall. You can get them pretty tough in that size. Economically, you're not paying as much for like a 72 count. The 72 count buys you time for planting, so you can hold them longer, and that's the advantage. In my opinion, the advantage of the 72 count tray. But if you're a really efficient operation, and you can get your plants in the ground right away, within 48 hours of them getting delivered to you, you can go to a smaller cell tray with no problem. But if you think you're going to hold on to them for a week, or it's going to take you a week to plant them, you're going to want to buy, because it's just going to, like you said, the plant will continue to develop in that container, and the longer it sits there, the more stress it comes under. And a hemp plant is not a plant that you want to put under stress prematurely. I mean, I had to hold on to some plants for some growers for 3 weeks, and they were flowering in the trees. I mean, it was a disaster, but they just weren't ready, So for someone, if you're working with somebody like me, it's really important to know when you want to plant, what your planting dates are, and what you're capable of doing. Because what we do is that we get the plant where, like you said, that there's enough root mass in there that you can get them out of the tray. You shouldn't have to push them out. When we're doing it correctly, they'll pull out just fine. They'll be stiff. The plants will not be tender. And but that's a really fine line, because we are growing it to the edge of what its container size is. So that's why your schedule needs to be really on point, so we can meet that schedule for you.
Yep. I see a lot of people get them to the field and then sit on them and not get them into the field quick enough. And I can't stress how much that is just damaging to the plant. It's damaging to your yield potential, because inevitably the plant goes in field. When they hit the field, they get shocked. They have to figure out where they need to go. So it's just really good, like Eric's saying, to make sure that when you get your plants delivered, that you're ready to go in field, and make sure you're prepared by the time, to set them the day that they get delivered. Absolutely. And I guess, I'd also ask you, Eric, what do you think about, and I know this is getting a little out of your wheelhouse, but handing these plants off. I mean, obviously you've babied these things for 6 to 14 days, depending on how you're doing them, or 14 to 17 is kind of what we're seeing with hemp. I use 6 for the Alipod example you gave, but what do you recommend for the farmer when they're receiving their plants to help them reduce any kind of transplant shock, or what would be a good process?
Okay, it's fairly straightforward, and I can explain the reasons why growers do this. Like some of my best growers, the first thing they do when they deliver the plants in the box is they have wagons. But you don't necessarily need to have wagons, but they have something that they can put the plants on. They can be outside, but if they need to pull them indoors for a weather event or something, they're still capable of doing that. But what you want to get the plant into full sun, because when they're at my place in the greenhouse, they're getting diffused light. And so if you're taking them from the box, from the greenhouse to the shipping container, straight to the field, they've never had an opportunity to acclimate, to being in full sun. And so they need that little acclimation. So it'll kind of compound the transplant shock that you already have. So it's always, for me, it's always a good idea to say, if you got a spot in the corner of your field or whatever's the most convenient, or somewhere you also have access to water, because you might need to water them if you hold on for 2 or 3 days. Set them in a grassy location. If the roots start growing out of the bottom into the grass, great, that's fine. You won't have to water them as much. But getting them into full sun is really the most important thing to do, because it's the one thing I can't do at my place. At our place, we trail up the fertilizer. We try to, let them toughen up so they don't get soft. When we dry them out, we try to get them a little drought resistant before we get rid of them. So we do just about whatever we can to get them hard. But the one thing that they don't get is full sun, and it's a huge thing. You can lose 15% of your plants if they're not acclimated to the sun. So it's not a good idea ever to take them out of your box or however you're receiving them and just put them right in the field. You need to give them 24 hours to, acclimate to that stress.
No, that's sage advice for sure. And, you don't want to see them go into shock. It's hard to reverse them. You do lose a lot of plants. The best thing that you can do, in my experience, is just watch the plants, watch them for flagging. When the leaves start to flag at all on a hemp plant, you know that it's right on the edge of going into shock. And so reverse whatever it is that you're doing, whatever the stressor is at that moment, pull it back a notch, so that you don't have to endure any shock. I think it's something that people don't understand enough or don't pay attention to enough. And we really see it when we're talking the difference between direct sowing and transplanting, that there's this transplant shock moment. And if you don't reduce that, then you can lose a number of days, a lot of growth potential at a point when the plant has a lot of vigor and is in development. So I agree with you.
And then the conventional agriculture side, they have a lot of chemistries and products available that allow us to help acclimate the plant for the field. But the hemp is living in a world where the crop protections available to it are pretty limited. So you have to use Mother Nature and the old school tools that people use over a long period of time.
Sure.
And transplant shock is not something that you're not going to not have. You're always going to have a degree of transplant shock.
Yeah,
it's just what you're
absolutely.
it's what you're doing to reduce that transplant. And a lot of it can be weather conditions. If you receive your plants and it's a 95-degree day in your field and you're putting it in a plastic, maybe you should plant at night. I have a lot of growers when it gets into June and July and they're planting peppers, they can't take the heat of the summer days, and so they'll just turn and start planting at night. To give the plant several hours to acclimate to their conditions before they have they'll get the sun of the next day.
I think most of our Central California Valley farmers that are doing hemp are planting at night. It's just a standard practice. As soon as the sun goes down, they go out and put the plants in the field so they get that time to acclimate before the sun comes up on them. So, yep. Well, so that we don't get too far back on time, and I would say I think we're going to have Mike and Tim speak a little bit about some of the applications that we can do to reduce transplant shock from a nutrition side. With respect to the fact that we are so limited on hemp. But let's turn this over. If we have a couple of questions, I think I did see one from Big Cat. What do we have, Scott? Are there any questions for Eric?
Unmute. Sorry, I had to unmute. Yeah, Big Cat said, do you guys do a dip in anything on transplants, whether inoculant or say like a dust like Bigfoot?
We do not, but like I said, we're a custom grower, so we do custom applications for growers. So if you request us to do something, we certainly can do it for you. But no, we don't do any sort of inoculation. I mean, there's a lot of the chemicals that they're using for hemp at the seedling stage are new, unproven, and the stuff that we've experimented with, you got to be real careful, because some of the stuff that they're using in the field, it won't work in the seedling stage. So you got to be careful what we're using. So we try to be as cautious as possible.
And I back that up. I back that up by saying that we're very careful about what we apply to emerging plants and young plants and fresh transplants, just to be clear on that. Very cautious.
I mean, how we combat issues in the greenhouse, really, a lot of it is we're trying to reduce the interval where they're in dense population. So I'm trying to get them out of the greenhouse as fast as possible, because I don't have any real good weapons to combat any issues that would arise. So the best thing to do is to, get them out as fast as possible. Because really the dense population is the big risk factor.
Yep. Okay, well, I saw any other questions? I saw some stuff pop up about IPM, but there we go. There's one from Drew. Can you read that out, Scott?
Yeah, from Drew Kit. How do you avoid starts becoming root bound?
So root bound. I mean, I guess there's two types of root bound. There's a type of root bound that you can't get the plug out of the tray, and that is a real issue that does exist for some certain crop categories. Hemp is not something to worry about, but then there's also this farm nomenclature. If a plant is root bound, it won't start right in the field, and I think that's kind of it's not, the amount of roots you have really doesn't determine how well the plant will take off. A lot of roots isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's more about the overall health of the plant. So you definitely need enough roots so you can pull it out of the plant, because you want it to pull easily out of the tray, so you're not creating any mechanical stress on the plant when you're pulling them out of the tray. But at the same time, in terms of root boundedness, hemp's, besides the type of trays we're using, vegetable trays, they don't really get root bound. But in terms of root bound for transplant, it's kind of, I think it's one of those farmer misnomers that have been spread around for a long period of time. If your plants aren't doing well and they have a lot of roots, it's because they got too old for it. And it's not necessarily have to do with the roots, but it's the overall plant. So they got too old.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And sometimes we see circling issues too. Like very rarely with hemp plants, we will see the plant, and it's very rarely, guys, but one plant will circle and cut off a major artery for itself if you leave them in a small pot too long. But again, it's a very rare issue.
But and a lot of that has to do with just health. You know, if you have a lot of roots, you know, the plant's going to start doing screwy things because it's unhealthy, because it's, you know, it's outgrown its space. And the shape of the roots, and people will disagree with me on this. I don't think it's the shape of the roots, it's the health of the plant. And then when you see these cutting off issues in the field and your soils and the root structure in the field, it was because the plant was unhealthy. And so really it's all about timing. So if I bring you a healthy plant, it's really important to get it in the ground and not hold on to it for 3 weeks, because that will be the cause of your issues. You know, it'll get nutrient starved. It'll actually stall out. You know, so it's real important to just, you know, let them have a couple, 24 hours, 48 hours of full sun, and then get them in the ground.
Okay. So I think maybe we can take one more, Scott, and then we'll go ahead and exit and move on.
Okay. Let's see here.
I saw
Yeah.
maybe Don Brace. I saw Don Brace had something maybe about soil temp.
Yes. In Northeast Ohio is where they're located. It's common for them to have frost at the end of May. What is a good temperature for the ground for planting?
I guess I don't really have the data on the ground temperature. I would just say if it's a sunny day and you're getting in the high 80s, you should start thinking about, you know, potentially early morning planting or late evening planting. If you're going into black plastic, it's going to even be warmer in the soil. So in general, it's just a good idea to not be planting in the heat of the day when there's full sun.
And as far as the cool temps go, our young plants are capable. I can't speak for everybody's hemp, but our young plants are capable of handling small light frost events. So, you know, 29, 30 degrees for a few hours sustained, our plants can actually handle that, Don. So just to give you an idea, as long as you're above freezing, even if you guys get caught out in the first 4 or 5 days and you have a little dip, our plants are going to do just fine. So as far as the cool goes, I think Eric's right. The cool's not so much the issue past your last major frost event, of course, but you know, the soil temp really is impacted by the heat.
In Northeast Ohio, there's a lot of people that are saying let's plant them earlier in May. And like we're at Northeast Ohio, or I'm at Michigan, people in Wisconsin or Minnesota. You're far enough north where you're going to really get the advantage of getting real long days that, you know, growers down south don't have that advantage. So you really, you know, for me, to eliminate the risks of your plant in the field, it's just like I say, I want to get them in and out of the greenhouse as fast as possible. I also think it's a good idea to get them in and out of the field as fast as possible. So later plantings, in my opinion, you know, you're going to get a lot of growth because you're going to have longer days, you know. And I guess Jeremy could probably get into genetic selection in terms of that, because, you know, if you're growing in North Carolina, you know, you're not going to have as long a day period as you are as, you know, if you're growing in Michigan or Ohio or New York. So what
Epigenetic influence is real.
Yeah, what plant you want really is a huge degree of where you're located.
Well, thanks, Eric. I sure appreciate you showing up. You guys can definitely find Eric. He's here to help you with transplants. I think he kind of gave you the spectrum of states, the cross section of states that he's handling. I certainly recommend him if you guys want to end up with healthy plants to the field. I know that his facility is clean. I know that he does incredible work for a lot of farmers. So certainly, you know, don't hesitate to call on Eric if you need transplants anywhere in the Midwest or the South. All right. Well, thanks Eric. Yeah, I appreciate you coming on and joining us. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great.
Okay. Well, I guess we're going to move on and we'll bring on Mike and Tim Gordon. So I'd like to introduce Michael Key and Tim Gordon. Michael Key is the CEO and founder of Impello Biosciences, an amazing company out of Colorado doing some wonderful work and building some great nutrients to help hemp farmers. Tim Gordon is the chief of staff for Impello Bio. He has some great history in hemp as well. I think a lot of people here may already recognize that name. So again, without further ado, welcome you guys. Happy to have you here.
Thank you, Jeremy. Great to be here.
Hey, Jeremy, thanks for having us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah,
of course, man. Of course. It's our pleasure. Thank you guys again for coming. So yeah, I mean, I'd love for you guys to start out, maybe give us a little background on Impello, how you guys got started, maybe a little background on yourselves and what led you to nutrition.
Sure.
Hey, Mike, why don't I take it first, pass it to you?
Go for it.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, guys. This is really great to be with everyone. My name's Tim Gordon. I'm a chief of staff with Impello. Really excited about what we do there. Kind of the crystal ball, the innovative side of agriculture that goes beyond traditional aspects, combining what's good and conventional, what's good and organic, and bringing it to the next level of a quantum agriculture or quantum biology, where we're seeing multiple benefits, but really starting with something that's really important, and that's the genome or the microbiome of the cannabis plant. I'm also I sit on the board of the Hemp Industries Association. I've done scaled farming and hemp agriculture here in the United States, Canada, and in Europe. I regularly get to travel the globe and do education on this plant and the aspects of agronomy, from production all the way through harvesting and drying. I got 20 years plus in the decade, 20 years plus 2 decades of cannabis research and cannabis work, and I have some patents in the industry. And I really enjoy optimization in the cannabis space, and that's really one of the things that led me to work with Mike. And like I said, having the eyes for innovation in cannabis and ways to express those individual phytomolecules that make money. Right? We're talking cannabidiol, or you're talking different terpene expressions, but all of those are points of revenue. And what's great about Impello is we've understood that, and we've exemplified those points of revenue with some really smart basic products that I'll let Mike jump into.
Yeah, well said, Tim. Yeah, I think your reputation precedes you, and fortunately, I'm lucky enough to get to work with you and convince you to come join our team. But Jeremy gave a nice background, Tim gave a nice background there. So Impello's entire focus is biostimulants. It's a newer section of crop input technologies. Of course, these things have been researched at some of the leading universities for 2 or 3 decades, but as in most things, in most industries, especially in agriculture, the adoption curve can be very slow, but they're really starting to pick up now. The application can be very simple. The product themselves can be very, very simple. And a lot of the concepts in biostimulant technologies is just rooted in natural processes anyways. So like Tim said, we look at the microbiome, we look at different plant microbe interactions, we look at nutrients and kind of rethink the way that nutrients need to be applied, which is oftentimes contrary to what we've learned through conventional agriculture over the last, let's say 80 or 100 years or so. So all of that leads us to being able to generate better plant performance. Again, kind of rooted in nature, looking at what natural biology is really, really good at in the first place. And that leads into how we've actually handicapped ourselves with kind of old-fashioned practices, or what we now think of as old-fashioned practices. And anyways, focusing on these changes allows us to really maximize or optimize the potential of each plant. So Impello, needless to say, is very excited to partner with Davis Farms this year to offer this farm nutrition package, which consists of a very simple 1-part fertilizer and a super effective microbial inoculant. Again, the point of these 2 products, of course, is to provide some good nutrition to the hemp plant, but also to restore soil quality and to focus on some of the beneficial phytocannabinoids, phytomolecules that Tim was talking about that aren't always easy to get with just a conventional fertilizer package. So we should probably leave it there, jump into some questions.
No, that's awesome. That's a great lead in to the first question. And I do want to get back to a little bit about nutrition uptake, and you tapped into sort of how we're evolving that. But to start out, I just wanted to talk to you about microbial inoculant, since you guys are so focused on the tribus, and really just about, what are the benefits of it, you know, to a seedling, to a start, and how soon after emergence are we safe to apply a product like Tribus?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. So for anybody who's been in, you know, commodity agriculture or any high value crops, you'll probably be familiar with seed coatings and seed priming, and beneficial bacteria have been applied as seed coats for almost a decade now, actually more in some cases. These, you know, these bacteria are plant symbionts, so they work extremely well with the plant. They don't work against the plant. So, you know, when it comes down to application timing, the earlier actually is the better. We'd like to kind of think about a new plant root like a empty auditorium, you know, with just tons and tons of empty seats, and think of beneficial bacteria as all the audience members that you want there, you know, not the hooligans, not the scoundrels that would be your plant pathogens or something like that. So the earlier you can apply a beneficial inoculant like our Tribus product or like our upcoming microbial product Continuum, the sooner you can actually cover that kind of fresh, vulnerable root zone. The rhizoplane, we would call it, is the area on the root, or the rhizosphere, the area right around the root. You can put the beneficial bacteria in there and competitively exclude any plant pathogens. So really the sooner the better, and anytime throughout the plant life, it's going to be beneficial to apply these products. But if you can do a seed coat or at transplant or within a week after, that's absolutely ideal.
Great. And have you guys experienced this, like reducing transplant shock at all, since we're coming right off of Eric and moving right into the field of transplant shock?
Yeah, I was really enjoying the transplant shock conversations because it is like, you know, one of the banes of agriculture, right? It's really difficult to move plants between environments. You know, cloning is a very stressful process. Transplanting is right up there with another, you know, one of the most stressful processes that a plant can endure. So beneficial bacteria absolutely are a good way to improve the root structure and the root architecture. That was another thing that I thought was, you know, a great question, was the root bound or, you know, root circling in pots can be an issue. But at the same time, if you have a great big healthy root mass with very white active roots, actually getting a lot of water, a lot of nutrient uptake, a lot of metabolic processes there. And just like Eric was saying, the healthier the plant, when you put it into the ground, the better chance that plant will take off and that you'll really reduce transplant shock. So you can do it with the microbes. You can also do it with fertilizers. And this is where biostimulant technology is different than conventional fertilizer technology. Biostimulants often incorporate stress-reducing compounds like amino acids and polypeptides. And both of these types of organic compounds can actually reduce the plant's abiotic stress. So at a time of drought or high temperatures or cold temperatures, high salinity, or something like transplant, you know, which is a shocking event, the presence of these amino acids can actually give the plant a little bit of a buffer and allow it to thrive much more quickly and kind of reduce the you know, fragility or reduce the stress on the plant, I guess is the best way to say that.
No, it's awesome, man. That's wonderful to know, and thanks for sharing on that. To move forward, I guess I'd ask you, you know, can you explain a little bit about science behind nutrient uptake and the plant's ability to selectively choose its own nutrition, and how that works with the support of a strong how that works with the support of a strong soil biology, right?
Yeah, definitely. Now, Jeremy, as you know, we could talk for hours about this.
We have.
So this is a topic that's really near and dear to my heart. I know, same with Tim. And I think it is worth, you know, really getting a good understanding of the information that's out there, because again, conventional practices has really kind of screwed up our way of thinking about what a plant needs and when it needs it. And, you know, to keep things really simple, although I'm always happy to go in depth on this and have this conversation in great detail with anybody who wants it. But plants really uptake nutrients in 3 different ways. There's root interception, which accounts for about 1% of nutrient uptake. And that's literally like a plant root growing by a ion, and it hits it, and then it's able to uptake it. It happens. There's nutrients all over the soil. It's not very common, or it doesn't account for very much of the nutrient uptake. Then we have mass flow, which is responsible for a lot of the nitrogen, sulfur, calcium uptake, which is really just these water soluble compounds that are getting pulled up into the plant as part of the water. And finally, we have diffusion, which is responsible for the movement of more ions like potassium and phosphates. Now, those account for the vast majority of nutrient uptake. But what's really important is that the plants are able to selectively uptake nutrients as long as what they need is in the soil and in the field. So it's not going to expend energy. And plants are smart. They actually don't expend energy to uptake a nutrient when they don't need more of that nutrient. So if you're applying something into the field and you have benefit or high levels of everything that the plant will need throughout the flowering cycle or throughout the entire growth phase, the plant will figure it out on its own. And there's a lot of different ways it does that. The plant, again, is actually a pretty intelligent organism, but it also goes out of its way to recruit all these other really beneficial and intelligent organisms like native soil microbes that can help mobilize and solubilize different nutrients at different time points. So it's a really interconnected web of the plant diffusing certain root exudates through its roots to both chelate some of these soil-bound nutrients and also attract other microbes that help the plant uptake other nutrients. And it does it all in this really cool symphony, kind of as needed throughout the growing season. You can tell I love talking about it because it's just it really is a symphony, at least in my mind.
Well, it's one of the most fascinating things that I've learned from you guys. The idea that we're trying to sort of force feed a plant sometimes, what we think it needs, and not giving it the ability to select, what it wants by applying everything or providing everything in the field. So that's it's a fascinating concept. So I really appreciate you diving into a little bit. We've been just cramming nitrogen down plants' throats for 60, 70 years now, and I just think it's time that we have a little bit of evolution. And what you said there about plant intelligence is something that we preach all the time. I mean, from a breeding standpoint, we see the intellect of this plant, its ability to evolve and epigenetically influence, or be epigenetically influenced. And so just the nutrition side of that is just another level of how this plant and other plants are so intelligent. So again, evolving the entire agricultural industry or food production industry on the backs of hemp is, I think, some of what we like to see. And if we can see nutrition and the way we use nutrition be impacted and be a little bit more beneficial for our earth and our soil biology, these are things that we want to lean into whenever we can.
Yeah, we couldn't agree more.
I know you guys are on it. So, and again, just kind of leaning into that, taking that a step further, or maybe even taking it a step back, what can you speak a little bit to how you feel about the benefit of running liquid fertilizers through drip versus running a dry amendment, pre-planting?
Yeah, I could definitely talk about this. I think Tim, with his much more extensive hemp farming experience, is really well suited to talk to this. I mean, very high level and briefly, I think liquid fertilizers provide a little bit of a competitive advantage in terms of labor. They can be easy to apply. There are plant benefits to it as well, of course. And fortunately, some of the technology that we're working on is really trying to capture, again, not what we think of as conventional fertilizers. That would be like nitrates and ammonium, but actually water soluble organic fertilizers. So you can restore some organic matter to the soil. You can supply all the nutrients you need, and you can do it with kind of minimal labor. But yeah, I think Tim should step in here, talk about his own experience running liquid fertilizers and the benefits of the plants.
Great.
Sure. Good lay in there, Mike. So some of the things that I think about here is obviously your points of COGS versus your revenue here. And this is really important in scaled agriculture, especially in horticulture or specialty crop ag, right? Because what you put in is this is a question, is what you put in giving you something back? And the best way I found that, and I've done anything from pivot noodle lines to flood, dry amendments, but I've had the best in horticulture style, specifically farming for cannabinoids, for using noodle direct underneath the soil drip lines and doing applications, subsequently right into this plant rhizosphere here, where we talked about all of this beneficial activity is really hot and what really creates the plant's metabolism kick in. When you are in the field and you got the sun, you have all the environmental aspects working for you to kick the soil aspects in, the metabolism. This is where you want all of the electrical activity for the plant to really kick in its metabolism. So I have found, as far as ROI and as far as best returns, straight, doing drip line application.
Uh-oh. Did we lose
He
him?
froze. He froze on us.
He froze. Well, I think you guys knew where he was going.
Definitely.
But let's see if he, well, since he might take a minute to rejoin, I can just finish up that thought for him because I think I know where he was going. But yeah, applying the nutrients directly to the rhizosphere, directly to where the plant roots are going to be, is obviously going to be the most cost effective rather than broadcasting. That's true not even just with nutrients, but with other carbon amendments like biochar. There are a lot of people who initially started broadcasting biochar throughout a field. Biochar is not something that we do right now, but we have some good friends at Biochar now who have a great program for doing this. But it's extremely ineffective or extremely not cost effective to broadcast biochar into the entire field, when instead you could really just strip till and drop it into where you're going to be planting, where you need it the most. Exactly the same is true with fertilizers. You want to get it to the plant roots. Nitrogen fertilizers in particular can be extremely wasteful if you're applying too much over acreage that plant roots aren't necessarily going to interact with. About 50% of applied nitrogen worldwide is just washed out of the soil or volatilized every year before it even gets to the plants. That's part of the reason that we focus on these organic fertilizers. A source of nitrogen as amino acids, it's less prone to that, so it will stick in the soil. Kind of regardless of where you put it, a little bit better than a nitrate or an ammonium fertilizer, but you still want to put it as close to what you need as possible, which is the plant.
Good. Understood. Well, that's great. So I think with that, if you guys don't have anything else to add on those questions, we'll go ahead and I see a whole bunch of questions popping up in the Q&A. So you guys have definitely stimulated some people's thought. So I'm not sure if Tim Kletke can step in and present some questions to us. I think Scott may have been having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I can
If
jump
not,
in.
okay, perfect. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, we had a couple questions. One of them right off the bat was what kind of what kind of biology is in the nutrients?
Sure. So yeah, in our Tribus product, we keep it really simple. We use 3 different bacillus species. So we use Bacillus subtilis, very common. Bacillus amyloquafaciens, it's a fun one to say, also pretty common in biofungicide products. And we use Bacillus pumilus, which is a unique bacillus, but it's also a native soil-borne microbe. So in our newer blend Continuum, which is available in some states right now, that product also contains a Paenibacillus chitin-elyticus, which is a chitin-degrading enzyme produced by this bacillus-like bacteria. But basically, in this consortia, all of these bacteria help each other grow, which is one of the historic problems with inoculants. You can add a kind of an isolated species to different soils, and it won't necessarily survive. When you can bind them into a little team, add them to the soil, they both help the plant grow and help each other persist and survive in the soil. So they're all non-GMO, they're naturally occurring soil microorganisms. They're all in this classification of plant growth promoting rhizobacteria. So bacteria that specifically live on the roots or around the roots of plants, and totally safe. We joke and say our product Tribus is a probiotic for plants, but it's quite literally a probiotic for humans. So we have these bacteria all over our gut.
Great, awesome.
Yeah.
A couple other questions we had are cost per acre, and then how much you're applying that. Is it weekly? Is it monthly?
Sure. So with Davis Farms, and Impello is doing this farm package deal this year, which includes a 50-pound bag of our Biofuel Fertilizer, and that's an amino acid based, well, actually it's a corn steep liquor based powdered fertilizer that's very water soluble. The application rates for that are about 2 to 20 pounds a week. As you guys know, field application rates for different nutrients really vary depending on what the crop is and what the soil's current nutritional value is. So if you haven't done a soil test, that's a really good place to start, because it will give you an idea of really how much you need to add. But going back to the farm package deal, we have that 50-pound bag of biofuel, which is it's a 765. In reality, it's more like a 777 NPK value there. And as a second half of that deal, we also include 4 gallons of our Tribus Original Microbial Inoculant. That's what we were just discussing. And right now the price this year is about $750 an acre for that package. That should get you through. Again, nutritional needs for every farmer will vary depending on what the soil is at currently. So if you haven't done a soil test, again, I'll reiterate, you should do that. And then we can help, Jeremy can help, figure out exactly what nutrient requirements your field in particular will need.
Perfect. Well, do we have one more maybe, Tim?
Yeah, I got kind of a long-winded one here. What is a good source of nitrogen? What are good timings, in your opinion, to research and apply nitrogen versus K versus P in the field when using dry fertilizers? Are there wrong times to apply such things as lime, blood meal together at the same time? Do these cause the nutrients to lock out? And if you're using dry fertilizers tilled into the soil, I guess is what they're asking.
Yeah, great question. So yeah, I mean, in our case, again, for simplicity, which we really like to fall back on, you can apply something like our 1-part biofuel fertilizer all throughout the year. And again, because the plant is able to selectively uptake nutrients, as long as the nutrients that it needs are available to it, it will go out of its way and it will figure out what to uptake. That being said, of course, you don't want to over fertilize anything. That's when you can start running into problems. If you're applying way too much phosphates, you can reduce the uptake of other nutrients. Same is true, there's all these nutrient interactions, but the field has so much buffering capacity in most cases, it's really not too much of a concern. It's more important to make sure you have what you need and not worry about particular timings. Now, of course, that's contrary to what most people are familiar with, especially indoor growers or greenhouse growers, and those who are growing in soilless medias or hydroponically, because in those cases, the soil does not have this big reservoir of nutrients, and the plant can't necessarily go out and find what it needs when it wants it. In that case, you need to be more of the dictator and provide it, spoon feed it a little bit all at a time and give it what it needs when it needs it. But again, in the field, the plant has so many resources available to it. You can use something like a 1-part fertilizer that, has amino acids and polypeptides as a primary source of nitrogen, and that's an organic source of nitrogen, which is super readily available, along with a pretty high P and K content, and be replenishing what the plant needs all throughout the season. There's a lot that I could talk about in terms of the microbe influence here, but really, as long as you have some keystone species like bacillus working to cycle nutrients in the soil, that will also, and you're adding organic matter through something like biofuel or another organic fertilizer, you're going to be encouraging that microbial activity. And through that, like I alluded to earlier, the plant will have a big assist in uptaking what nutrients it needs when it needs them. So, to some extent, it's like, keep it easy on yourself, apply enough so that the plant has what it needs, but also let nature do its work, let the plant do its thing. And you might be surprised with how easy it is, but also how effective it is.
It's very well said, Michael. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yeah, awesome. I think there's no way you're leaving this thing without a little bit of knowledge. No way. So thank you guys for sure. And with that, I will move on to, again, I should outro you guys a little bit better. Definitely look for Impello Bio. If you have any questions about them, you can contact us. As Michael said, we have this program going on with them this year. We encourage you guys to apply this in the field. We designed it so that it's, basically simple, stupid. I mean, the idea is that you guys just have something that you can run and trust, without having to put too much thought into it. We've seen a lot of variability in the outcomes with our genetics based on the nutrition. So just having something that's a stable baseline like this is really something we encourage. If you have any questions about it, you can call Impello, you call Mike Key, Adam DeRosa there as well, or Tim Gordon. You can also call us, and we're more than happy to answer any questions or direct you to Impello. So thank you guys so much for taking the time. I'm really proud to have you on the webinar today. Thank you.
So thank you, Jeremy, and yeah, we're proud to be affiliated with you guys and working with you. It's
Cool.
yeah, it's all up from here.
Helping farmers. That's what it's all about.
Right. That's right.
Okay. Well, perfect. Okay. Well, with that being said, let's go ahead and let me introduce Mr. Charlie McKenzie. I think, Tim, you're being moderator now. We did lose Scott. He was having some issues. So if you don't mind.
I'm back on here. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. Well, yeah. Well, we'd like to introduce Charlie McKenzie. Charlie McKenzie is the founder of Crop Walk Ag and also runs the Crop Talk podcast, which is another source of great information. He makes us look kind of silly, actually, some days when he does his podcast. I'm very impressed with what he puts out and the information that he spreads to our farmers across the nation. So again, without further ado, let me introduce Mr. Charlie McKenzie.
Hey, all. Really appreciate it, Jeremy. Really grateful for the opportunity.
Of course, man. This is what it's all about. You know, you, Mike Key, Tim Gordon, Eric, we're all here to create a sustainable industry. You know, this industry has some volatility right now. And I think one of the things that's been going on that we all agree is not the right thing to do is no co-opetition. If we all come together and we, you know, kind of educate everybody, we move the industry out of this nascent space and the space of volatility into something that's sustainable for us all. And I know when I'm speaking to you, Charlie, I'm speaking to somebody who's very passionate about this plant and what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. Well, perfect. So I want to talk a little bit about IPM with you, if you don't mind.
Of course.
I think the first thing I'd like to ask you is, you know, what are the first steps that we should do as new hemp growers when it comes to developing an IPM plan?
Well, there's a lot of first steps I think people are looking to take. Me personally, if I had, you know, never grown hemp or you know, I was a grower that had a property and is looking to diversify their crops and put hemp into it, I would make sure that I contact the state cooperative extension office and get a hold of someone that has worked with growers in that region. You know, if your state doesn't really have someone, go to the nearest state that has a good hemp information base. It doesn't have to be super extensive, but what I'll tell you about pests and pathogens is that, you know, microclimate and region is super important in what you're going to really encounter and how, you know, devastating it could be. So look for those resources and make sure that you get in good contact. Sometimes calling the pathogen or pest ID lab and asking some of the technicians, hey, what have you seen come in through, you know, during the hemp season? Really valuable information. So that would be number one. Number two, shameless plug to Crop Talk Media. We've got a ton of information specifically related to pest and pathogen management in hemp, outdoor and greenhouse. There's webinars with a bunch of folks that are in what they're calling the Eastern and Western hemp IPM working groups. So some university educators, researchers coming together to collaborate on, you know, identifying what those thresholds are for certain pests and pathogen and really seeing what it's doing to our crops and how we can mitigate that. Lastly, I'm going to finish with this one. Got a prop here for you, Jeremy. You got to have a 15x LED hand lens. You got to have it.
Okay.
Absolutely got to have it. I mean, if your last $60, spend it on one, because the amount of times that I talk to someone who's looking for help and they say, I've got a problem. It doesn't look right. My eyes are horrible. How do we have a conversation? Well, if you take this, you look through it, turn on the light, you can see stuff you've never seen before and describe it to me way better than you ever have before. Or you can turn that on, slap your camera phone up on top of it and take a pretty good picture or video and send it over. So you're not going to feel like you're on an island if you've got one of these tools and you've got those resources I just mentioned.
Cool. And I'm not ashamed to say I'm one of those guys, Charlie, that I'm starting to peer at things like this and trying to get a better look at them. So thanks for sharing that. And I would add that I agree with you that the Ag University Extension agencies are a wonderful place, a wonderful resource to look. In Oregon here, we have Oregon State University, and they're right there. You know, they know the vectors, they know what the problems are, they know when they come. So that's a great resource, even to start out and just asking what the potential problems might be. So, you know, and here's a simple one for you. You know, tell me something that every hemp grower can do to, improve their IPM or reduce their pest problems this summer. Just a simple, one or two
Yeah.
things, right?
All right. So the two most important things I would say, first of all, it's in concert with what you've heard from Mike and Tim. In the past couple years, spending time really looking at soil biology and pest and pathogen interactions. If you are focused on creating a healthy soil biology and having a really, really robust microbiome there supporting your plants, you are going to have way more success when it comes to the plant naturally defending itself from pests and pathogens. There are products out there that you could use to increase the defense mechanisms. And I want to echo the statement of get it on there as soon as possible. Start clean, stay clean is the mantra and mindset that we live by and teach people at Crop Walk. And I think if you are focused on preventing it from a balanced nutrition standpoint, you're going to be a leg up, definitely. And on that note, if you can reduce your tillage or quit it completely and grow some cover crops, especially for next year, you're going to be a happy farmer. Secondly, something that I think is really, really underestimated, and we just did a podcast that's going to be released with a fellow that is one of the foremost experts, I think, on application of crop protection products. It's worth doing a complete maintenance on your sprayer and spray equipment and calibrating that really well before the season. Get it cleaned, get it ready to roll, test it, and then have some water sensitivity paper ready for some of your first applications in the season where you're doing foliar applications. Go out there, cut the strips up, staple them to the back of leaves, put them in weird places that you want to see if you're getting coverage, and understand what you're actually doing with that spray. Because if you're going out there and you're spending bukus of money on a really expensive crop protection agent and it's a contact product and you're not getting it there, you're wasting your money. So that's a really, really easy way to get the most bang for your buck when you do need to go out there and, hit something after it's gone past that threshold.
Well, and is there some truth also, Charlie, to the notion that, if you are, how do I say, if you are, if you are not applying this stuff correctly, are you potentially creating some, resistant and virulent, more virulent pests going forward? Is that a possibility too?
Yeah, depending on what the product is, more of your conventionals, definitely, some biopesticides. And again, I hate this shameless plugging, but we're just released a podcast today on pesticide stewardship, and it had a little bit of a conversation about biofungicide resistance and whatnot. But what I'll say is there's not a lot of conventional products you can use, but I'm of the opinion that if you're going to use it, you need to be the most intentional and responsible with whatever crop protection product you're using. So use it to its best ability and with your equipment's best ability and get that coverage. I mean, coming back, and it might not even be that it needs to be 100% coverage or drip. I think that's something that folks, think, oh, it's dripping. Well, is it dripping in the middle of the canopy or is it dripping on the outside of the canopy? You could be over applying. There's a lot of little pieces about that. And I think folks look at a product like a silver bullet, but there's a lot that goes in to making that silver bullet even be a bullet for you.
Awesome. And so I guess the last thing that I would ask you, just kind of looking down the road here, you've been seeing some of the pest problems we've been having. I think you've identified some of the vectors to some of the maybe pathogen problems or mold problems that we're having as well. What do you see coming down the road in 2021 that hemp farmers really need to be paying attention to for IPM?
100%. That's a great question, Jeremy. Most of my experience walking crops and working with growers is in the Southeast, especially in North Carolina and Virginia over the past couple of years. What I'll say is that area is known for tobacco production. They're known for tilling their land like crazy and cultivating it constantly through the crop. They're known for heavy synthetic fertilizers and fumigants. And what that's doing, in my opinion, is creating a really hospitable environment for the bad microbes. And it's given us a lot of fusarium, pythium pressure. And those are ones that I would really be on the lookout for. There are products that you can use to try to protect your plant early on, maybe applying them at seedling stage. That's something you can do, but in my opinion, that's a little bit more of a Band-Aid than what we're looking for. I would really focus on building, those soil aggregates and cover crops and products like, what Impello has are your friend when it comes to those types of pathogens. When we're talking about pests or insect pests specifically, you're going to see in most regions, you're going to see some sort of worm that wants to feed on your flower. And I think that there are a lot of products out there that have been tried again. And there are some very novel compounds that have come out that are fantastic. But all of that being said, it is a timing situation when it comes to worms. You've really, really got to focus on the life cycle of the worm, where their egg laying's happening, when it might be happening most, and timing that application of your crop protection agent to really get the most bang for your buck. Otherwise, you're chasing your tail. The last two I'll mention, russet mites. Russet mites are typically a challenge, mostly because of young plant suppliers. If they're not diligent in their scouting or they have, other crops that they may have, and, for some reason, a russet mite's there. But all that being said, I think russet mites is probably more about having a really sound relationship with your young plant supplier if you're buying seedlings or vegetative liners or clones. And lastly, Botrytis. If we're talking about outdoor hemp production and we're talking about early September, you will have dew on your crop. There is no doubt about it. So I think that it's really important to have good variety selection and talk to folks that are breeding the genetics you're looking for and looking at to say, hey, what am I up against, and what do you have that can give me a leg up from that standpoint? Then next line of defense is nutrition. Let's have a balanced nutrition in our plant, and lastly, have that sprayer ready and be prepared to go out there every 3 days to 5 days potentially with a certain sanitation or crop protection product to battle that botrytis. Every bud that goes down to botrytis is lost weight and lost revenue.
Yes, and the spores spread. No question about it. They spread quickly. And shameless plug from me. Thank you for all that, Charlie. That's awesome. And you packed a lot into a very short period of time. So I appreciate you doing that. But select genetics that are, resistant to mildew, and don't just let somebody tell you they are. Check them out. In our case, you can certainly find the mold studies from a number of universities that we've done. And I'm really proud to say that's a place that our genetics stand up. We have no real problem with botrytis. We have great mold resistance. So certainly look to the genetic side for that. With that being said, and I'd like to turn it out and maybe see, I saw a whole bunch of people popping up. Of course, we knew it was going to. So yeah, if we can select a couple of questions for Charlie and let him answer those for some of our wonderful attendees.
Okay, yeah, we've got questions for sure. How do you feel about compost sprays applied foliarly during vegetation, occasionally to boost plant immunity to pathogens and pests?
I definitely am a believer in foliar applications of certain microbial products or foliar, mineral products for helping the plant's natural immunity. But I would throw some caution out there when it comes to what products you're using. And I personally don't have enough experience in brewing my own compost or understanding what, someone that has a business brewing compost needs to do to make sure that that product is going to be safe and something worthwhile for me to apply to my crop foliarly. So yes and no.
Great. Another one from Big Cat says the east and southeast get pummeled by armyworms, caterpillars. Whether foliar or other recommendations, is BT about the only option?
BT has typically been what most folks think is the only option. However, there have been some viral compounds, some novel viral compounds that are pretty effective. I saw them in the field this year work against tobacco budworm and corn earworm. And the company that I would recommend checking out, or there's two trade names that I would check out of products. Heligen, HELIGEN, and Gemstar, GEMSTAR. Those are two products I would look at when it comes to worms.
Great. Very nice. Do you guys have any opinion on electrostatic spray systems?
I think that there is value in the particle size that is created from electrostatic, and then like how it overcomes. I don't want to get into the physics of it because I would look really and sound really stupid, but how it overcomes a lot of the issues you have with particles in traditional sprayers. I really think they're valuable from that perspective. I don't really know what the cost benefit relationship is right now with how expensive the equipment could be. All that being said, I've heard some anecdotal information from some folks saying they had more trouble with getting great results from certain biofungicides through electrostatic sprayers, but it could also be their technique. So, that's just a word from the grapevine, if you will.
Great. Do we have one more?
Yeah, let's cordyceps. We have
I saw that.
Mikhail's using cordyceps for caterpillars.
I've never tried it, but I am a huge fan of fungi in all different sorts, and I think that it'd be worth a try. I've never heard of it. Again, safety wise, I think if you're concocting something or you're getting a novel new product, doing small phytotoxicity test on your crop, a couple plants, testing it here and there to make sure you're not adversely affecting the plant while trying to, mitigate your worms is important. I want to make a comment. I saw something here in the Q&A early on, and it was someone asking about high pH and low pH water for pests and pathogens. I don't personally have experience in using it, but there's a product called Kangen water, and there's a fella, if you look him up on LinkedIn, Eric Brandstad, I think it is, with Greenhouse Advisory Group. He's been using these units with 2.5 and 11 pH water, and he's been putting videos up of what it's done. And from the perspective of helping with certain pests like russet mites, it seems like it's a really good option and it's worth exploring. I know I'm going to explore it here this season with a few folks in Virginia that have the units. So I'll know more, but it's worth looking at. Awesome.
And I like the cordyceps going back to Misha. And by the way, Misha's in Thailand too. So we have another international attendee, but I like the question about cordyceps too, knowing that cordyceps do tend to take over the brain function of certain creatures. Yeah. It'd be interesting if we could sort of zombify all of our armyworms, wouldn't it? Okay, well that's great, man. I appreciate everybody chiming in, giving Charlie some great questions. I certainly appreciate you coming, Charlie. Absolutely tune in to Crop Talk, probably the best podcast, and it's not a plug, but it's probably the best podcast that I've done. And one of the most informative podcasts in the nation. So and there's a number of episodes. You could certainly binge watch that for many hours and come away with some great data and some great info. But
I'll apologize if you do, for you have to hear my voice that often.
He's fun. He's a lot of fun, and he's a light guy. So definitely tune in to Charlie when you have a chance. So now for everybody who's stuck around, if Scott's ready, I think we're going to go ahead. And if you don't mind sticking around with us a little bit, Charlie, we're going to go ahead and give away some seed to some folks. Are you ready to do that, Scott?
I am ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for sticking around, and hope you all found this very informative. Our first winner will be receiving 50% off is Debbie Yon.
Woo! So
Thank you, Debbie, for sticking around.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep. All right,
Okay.
Debbie, 50% off your order this year.
Our-
Okay.
Our second 50% off winner is Jim Larsgaard.
Oh, Jim, my
Jim
buddy.
Larsgaard.
Nice, Jim.
Okay, now the first winner for 500 seeds is going to be Tamara Andrews.
All right, Tamara,
Tamara Andrews.
you get 500 seeds of your choice of any variety from our catalog.
Wow.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right.
All right.
Second 500 seed winner, we have Jeanette Miller. Jeanette,
Jeanette.
congrats.
All right, Jeanette. She wins 500 seeds of her choice from our catalog. And we'll send you guys all info on this stuff. So it's not like you have to be reaching out to me to try and get it. We'll make sure that you guys get everything that you need. We'll contact all of you. We got love for you. Okay, so I don't want to go too fast. I want to take a deep breath because this is big. Somebody's going to win an acre of seeds. So there's 2,250 seeds. You're welcome, Jeanette. You're absolutely welcome. There's 2,250 seeds, a full acre of seeds, variety of your choice from our catalog. Who is going to go away with 2,250 seeds today, Scott?
Hey, well, the randomly selected winner for the 1 acre of seeds is Mr. Gene Mose. Mr. Gene.
No way, Gene. All right.
Congratulations.
Right on, Gene.
Gene is a great guy too. This is a salt of the earth individual. He is a dairy farmer traditionally, just a wonderful human being. So, and the same goes, everybody that's attending this thing, all of our farming network are just such amazing people. Charlie, Michael, Tim, Eric, all wonderful people. You know, those of you who get to know and understand us know that, you know, we're here to support farmers. We're here to create a sustainable industry. We're here to make this whole thing work. And you can trust every one of these people as a resource that we brought onto this event today. Yeah, you're welcome. Absolutely welcome. I'm seeing Mr. Smithers says thanks. Derek's from Milk Barn, super informative. Sibby says thanks. You guys are all welcome. If I could do this every day and spend my life doing this and helping you guys to be better farmers in any way that we could or understand this plant, that's what we'd be doing. So thank you all. We appreciate you all. And with that being said, we'll follow up with everybody on their wins and on the giveaway, and just appreciate you all very much. Have a great day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you, everyone else.
Of
Yeah.
course. Thank you, Charlie. Yep. Thank
Thanks,
you.
y'all. Take care.
All right. Take care, guys. Thanks for
All right.
coming.
Thank you.
Out.